graduating from high school at the time that I did, in the Reagan era, and if you were a person of kind of a certain proclivity, you were going to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. So this never was something that I thought that I was going to do. So in 1992, after not securing a berth in the Naval Academy, I thought I would go into ROTC as a nuclear engineer. I was accepted at Penn State in 1992. Summer before I go, my sister, who's 10 years older than I am, probably said the most life-changing words to me. Do you really want to do math and science every day for the rest of your life? And I said, no, that doesn't sound good at all. I don't want to have anything to do with that. She said, well, why don't you do something you do want to do? So I'll be a history major. I'm going to be a naval officer anyway. I'll never use this degree. Might as well study something that I enjoy. So that was great. Gulf War ends. Bush loses an election. All of a sudden, they're not taking as many naval officers as they used to. So I'm looking at this history degree that I have and thought, well, what am I going to do with it? And there are just times when one door closes and another door opens, and we never know where that door is going to be, nor do we ever know who's going to open it for us. And in this case, it was a professor of mine who handed me an application and said, here, why don't you do this internship? You'd probably be good at this. And it was for the PHMC. So in 1995, 30 years ago, I went and was an intern at the Danny Boone Homestead, where I met another exceedingly important person to me, a guy by the name of Jim Lors, who eventually would hire me on full-time in 1997. And I went from being a naval officer to a guy who was giving tours. So, but in all of that, I had always kind of saw my role as a problem solver and someone, because of that, who led, and not necessarily always led from the front, oftentimes led from the rear, oftentimes what someone calls a servant leader, you know, someone who can lead really from any seat within an organization. So as I got into groups, I just started helping, and not because I wanted to go anywhere, but because I thought that was the right thing to do. And over time, that led me to another role at Conrad Weiser Homestead, then 13 years at Landis Valley, and there I had a great opportunity to go ahead and to lead in so many places. So in 2018, when Steve Summers retired from this job, you know, someone who Karen had worked with and had a wonderful relationship and did great things here. The exhibit that we have is because of him. The condition of the buildings is all because of Steve. And of course, Karen's personality in bringing so many of the people here. If you walk into that museum at any time when Karen was at the front desk and you didn't feel better about yourself when you left, that was on you. It wasn't because of her. Karen's probably one of the most incredible people that's out there. So that was a really great thing. So when Steve retired, I used a connection. I knew him for a while, and I went and said, "Can we do dinner sometime? I want to talk to you about the job." And I came and I spoke to him, and I said, "I want the good, the bad, and the ugly. I want to hear it all." And he painted a very good picture. And I was like, come on, tell me where the bad stuff is. He didn't have it. And that was kind of what I had heard. But I also knew Steve for long enough that I knew that he was telling me the truth. And he had said, one of the best things about this site is the people that you work with. Okay, that sounds great. And so I decided that I would go ahead for a position here. So in many ways, this was my first command, my first naval command. And those of you who've ever seen my office, and sorry if you've seen it, it's not pretty.
No, absolutely. saw the first hours before you. Yours is beautiful.
Well, I know what you're talking about, but it's still not pretty. There's a little nameplate that's on that says Commander Emery on it. If you've ever seen that, that was my great aunt, Lieutenant Commander Jane Emery, who was a Navy nurse, entered service in 1946 and retired in 1976. She was the youngest of 12 children. Came up to about my shoulders. Scariest woman you ever wanted to see. I watched her dress down people 10 ways till Tuesday because they didn't get her order right. There was, I had said, if there was ever anyone that you wanted to say little lady to and then come back without hands, that was her. So after she had passed, I thought, if I could live up to half that Aunt Jane could, I put that on my desk. I'm like, that's been on a family member's desk since sometime in the 1960s. I think from when she was a nurse in Guam during Vietnam. So I've had some really good role models in my life. My parents were very good at that as well. I grew up in a very large extended family in a very small community. So when I was told when I came here to Lebanon County, my first day was an annual meeting. So they're like, I come in and there's 60 people there and everyone's like, oh, aren't you overwhelmed? I'm like, no, this is just Christmas in my family. I think I had 26 first cousins. When I went to go meet my wife's family for the first time, my wife has a large Pakistani family in California. For any of you that have ever seen my big fat Greek wedding, make it the Pakistani version of that, and that was my first introduction to her family. We flew out to California. They rented out a restaurant, and it was just us. And all these folks coming up. So, kind of having that big room and that big family, that's something I've always kind of been in and enjoyed. So coming here in many ways, I had this big family of people that were already here. I had to integrate into that family, find my spot, and you all made that so easy. I mean, it was like it had always been that way. I think at one point the Freelands were going to adopt me because I was over there so much, so it was just going to be easier that way. That did not go unnoticed. No one more welcoming than you. You made me do that. But when it came time for volunteers and to recruit volunteers, I saw people that had a passion that wanted to be here. And I've always understood that volunteers can do anything with their time. So why should they do it with you? They're going to do it with you because if they enjoy their time, if they're respected, and they're given agency in what they want to do. When Mike donated that collection that came from Bethlehem Steel, he recognized that this was a good place to do it. At the same time, a guy who would actually use those records came in. That wasn't on any of our plans. That wasn't a strategic plan of ours. That was, we have two people that brought in two good things. Let's put them together and try to make something great out of it. So my job wasn't to do great things. It was to see opportunities for those that were around me and try to put them together to do great things. It just made me look good in the process. But that was not my aim. My aim was to try to push the site forward, tell the story, get those things out there. The board that I had to work with, when I first came here, Carol had been president for 20 some odd years, had been here a long time. Jim stepped up to take that leadership role. Other folks came in and stepped in. Kathy recently had retired. So there were really great parts of this to come in. Karen, you came back after all those times. And I tried to recognize what people's good things were, what they wanted to do at the site, and try to give them the tools to do it. Sue, you wanted to go ahead and tell the story. We came up with that idea of doing the signs. We went out and we found money to be able to do it. And that's been kind of what I've tried to always do, recognize what people are good at, help them do that job. So I hope that my role kind of going forward is that just on a much larger scale. I'll have to tell you, not everyone's as nice as you all folks. So I have some challenges there. I do get angry at times. I do get frustrated at times. I'm very, very human in that respect. I try to keep that down. That was also part of that leaving ROTC. I had 2 years of military officer training. You can't yell and swear at people at normal life. So that was a little demon I had to put away. Correct, Pat and Bruce? Those are things that don't always translate well in the civilian life. But it was more true to myself, to who I was, to be able to go ahead and try to lead by example as opposed to lead by the whip. So I think that God kind of had a plan for me that that's where I should be instead. So this is was a difficult decision to go ahead and to make that next leap into our leadership. I remember distinctly about 30 years ago, a division chief at that time had asked me, where do you see yourself in 10 or 15 years? And I said, well, if you ever try to take me to Harrisburg, I will leave in a heartbeat and go find another job. Man, was I wrong.
You're not in Harrisburg.
I'm not in Harrisburg yet, though. Exactly. You have that. So you all have made this such a wonderful location for me. And so many great friends, folks that I saw on a weekly basis, a monthly basis, phone calls, texts. We've let squirrels go together.